Hrvoje and I on today's News Talk Radio, TNT.
All right, we are back with our weekly conversation with James Guzman, American-born writer and insurance broker specializing in non-conventional markets and countries. He's the founder of the Borderless blog and Borderless podcast, which you can find at borderless.com. Borderlessblog.com, as well as borderlesshealthinsurance.com if you need health insurance. How are you doing, James?
So, no, good here, man. It's been like really strange, like cold and rainy. I don't know. How was it there in Guadalajara?
Well, I don't know because I haven't been there for a while.
Oh, that's right. You already left, huh?
Yeah, I escaped into the lion's den of technocracy in the EU here. So
just in time.
I'm assuming it's hot as usual and rainy in Guadalajara. So
yeah, it's been kind of weird, cold. So what's I'm curious what energy prices are like there where you're at in Croatia, right?
Well, I don't pay the bills. I think today I paid my mom's water bill, and it was was it 400 kuna? That's the 50, maybe 60 bucks for water.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I'm just wondering, I hear that because, so if people don't know, around here in Mexico, it's, they have a national gas price. And it's a little bit under $5 a gallon. And so it's just slightly lower than it is in Texas. But I hear a lot of places out there in Europe, I mean, it's almost like triple that amount. So that's got to be pretty. And it's, I guess it's going up. So that's a big deal. You know what I mean? I mean, that's like the lifeblood of the economy. This energy stuff, I think, is really important.
Oh, the gasoline is crazy. And well, I'm not paying the bills, so I don't know, right. But life is definitely not cheap here in Europe. And speaking of energy and stuff like this, one story I found that was interesting regarding Mexico was, apparently there's a scarcity of glass bottles and high prices for aluminum and cardboard are contributing to beer shortages in some parts of the country. Mexico, the shortages are most prevalent in the north of the country, so I guess that's some good news for you. But there have also been reports of dwindling cerveza supplies in Mexico City and other states. And that there's a lack of glass bottles and high aluminum cardboard costs are affecting brewers as well as soft drink makers and other manufacturers. And so I think that it's Bloomberg reported that the first beer that ran out was Dos X in 1.2 liter bottles. The dark green glass, the Dos X has become hard to source. So that's interesting. So now you're starting to see the Great Reset impact different parts of the world in different ways, no?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's supply, chain problems, that's for sure. I haven't experienced that at all here where I am. There's still plenty of beer on the shelves. I remember when COVID first hit, there was a big problem with they shut down the the big national brands for a little while, and it was a big panic. That's always a panic here in Mexico is when they get a beer shortage or something like that. Even the large inflation that happened decades ago, they still refer to it as the tequila crisis, because once there were supply chain problems with tequila and people were having trouble getting tequila, that's what really brought people out into the street. So the government's got to be careful with that. They don't want to have people not get their booze. At least it keeps them more happy and docile as they're getting screwed over.
Yeah. Make sure they got their Soma tequila or mezcal. As you guys are big on mezcal in the San Miguel, right?
Yeah, but we get the stuff from straight from Oaxaca, the really nice stuff. There's not going to be a shortage of that comes straight from the farmers, and a lot of my friends have a ton of it. So I mean, maybe take a few hundred years, but I think we'll be okay.
The mezcals, for those people that don't know, mezcal is like a cleaner version of tequila. There have been articles that said it's actually the healthiest like hard liquor because it's like totally pure and natural. Mm-hmm. And I do recall from the last time I had it, it's like you don't feel anything. So, anyways, what else is on your Latin America radar?
So I mean, let's see. Probably one of the biggest things was, that they arrested Rafael Quintero. I'm sure you've heard about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for people, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with this guy, especially if they've seen the Narcos Mexico. He was one of the main characters in that series, and that became very popular. So they arrested him last week. He was 69. He is 69 years old. And so that was a pretty big deal because he's been number one, the highest paid. The United States has the most amount of money on his head. Was it $20 million, which is more than any other fugitive ever. And so they finally got him, and a lot of people are suggesting some stuff, because AMLO just met with Biden last month. I thought another thing that was weird about it was that 14 Mexican Marines died. So they were supposedly, in this, this project to go get him. They were hovering around looking for where he was. And so, what they say is that the helicopter ran out of gas and it just fell out of the sky, and 14 Mexican Marines died. So I thought that was kind of a strange and kind of maybe suspicious part of that. But anyways, so a lot of people are kind of just thinking that probably this had to do with that, or at least something to do with AMLO's visit to the United States last week.
Yeah, those Marines falling out of the sky could have been climate change, but again, there are usually not many coincidences. So, yeah, and as you say, there are reports saying, again, the coincidence that after AMLO meets with Biden, all of a sudden they find this Caro Quintero. I'm not well versed in this drug war lore. I've looked at Gary Webb and all these different things, but let me tell you about this because let's hold that thought. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have to go to our first mezcal break. James, again, the website is borderlessblog.com. We'll be right back on TNT Radio. And we're back with James Guzman of borderlessblog.com talking about Caro Quintero's arrest right after the meeting with between Biden and AMLO. And it's just funny how when they want to, like, they can just whip these guys up whenever they feel like it. It's just like they know where they are, they work together. And so, yeah, any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I was gonna get into that because it's funny. The story itself is just it's so kind of important and has gone on for so long. So, like I said, if people aren't familiar, you can watch the Narcos Mexico, and that kind of has the outline of this story that ended in Kiki Camarena, who was a DEA agent. And he came to Guadalajara and was eventually tortured and killed. And this has just been something that, especially the United States, has been very upset about since 1985. But it's very interesting. So the thing is that when he came down here, Kiki Camarena, he basically he really picked a fight with the Sinaloa cartel, at the time the Guadalajara cartel, which the guy that they just arrested, Caro Quintero, was one of the founders of that, and he had one of the biggest marijuana plants, where they would grow it and pack it up, and Kiki Camarena found it and he burned it, the whole thing, which was worth a lot of money. And so that was the thing that really upset Quintero. And so they found him, and the official story goes that they found him and they just tortured him and killed him. And it was very horrific, and the United States government was very upset. And so they've been That's why they put a $20 million reward on his head, the biggest in fugitive history. He was arrested in 1985, but then he served like 20 something years, and they let him out on a technicality, and the United States has not been happy about that. So it would make sense that that this meeting where AMLO went to the United States that had something to do with it. Now I've seen that the whole exchange between Biden and AMLO was recorded. So and they didn't speak anything about that, but there's been speculation that it was actually him when he spoke to Kamala Harris, that she was the one that was pushing for Quintero to get arrested. So I don't know, who knows. But one interesting part about this is that another series that you can watch, it's called The Last Narco, and that's on Amazon Prime, or I suppose you can get it other places, but it was originally Amazon Prime series. And in it, I can't remember what department he worked for, but I think he might have been DEA as well. And he testifies that basically there was a CIA agent, Felix Rodriguez, who was down here, and he was actually instrumental in pushing the whole killing and torture of Kiki Camarena. It was a CIA agent who was very close with George Bush. And if people are familiar with Richard Grove, he also interviewed this guy a decade before they did this series. And there's a lot of people that you'll see in this series, and they say that there was all kinds of government agents and things like that were involved in the killing of the CIA agent. That one person, one quote directly said, I think there were around 50, 60 people in the house, government officials, politicians, narcos, police, the real cream of the crop. And that was a Rene Lopez, a former Jalisco State police officer. That's what he testified. And so that's then you're really getting into some stuff here. And this is a lot of people that have testified this kind of thing. And also that the head of the CFE here, which is the electricity department, his name is Manuel Bartlett. He was also instrumental in this killing. And he is currently, one of the high up of one of the biggest government organizations. And he's a big AMLO supporter. At the time, he was with the PRI. And supposedly the motive for all this, because I know people would say, well, why would the United States government have anything to do with this? But remember, this is 1985. So this was the time of the Contras, and basically the CIA and the federal government of the United States was involved in moving drugs to pay the Contras. And so Kiki Camarena was supposedly, a real guy. He had I guess you could say, was a true believer in the cause of what he was doing in the DEA, and he was really getting close to a lot of stuff. And so they felt that it would make sense to snuff him out. That is what people have said. So that has been a really a big story for a long time. I don't know at the end of the day what that's really going to do, because like I said, so they've arrested this guy. He's 69 years old. So a lot of people say he's still got a lot of pull, but I really doubt that he's pulling the strings. So I don't know. I think it's more just like a head on a pike for one of their lost comrades in the United States, because they are going to extradite him, and he's probably not going to have a good time in the United States. So anyways, that's kind of it's an interesting story with everything going on with that.
All right, we're going to have to go to a quick update. Time enough for you to refill your tequila or mezcal. We'll be right back. So, James, you mentioned Richard Grove. You said he interviewed this. Who did he interview? Yeah, he interviewed. So this guy named Hector Barayez, something like that. But he was on the. He was featured in this series called The Last Narc. And yeah, it's funny because Richard Grove actually got the scoop on him way before this series came out on Amazon Prime. But it's also kind of interesting to me that they would put out a series like this on Amazon Prime. I was kind of blown away. Yeah, this is interesting. Richard does fantastic work. I sent him a mail to come on the show, but he hasn't responded. Richard, come on. Anyways, other news related sort of to the military aspect in Mexico. The National Guard apparently now has a flotilla of drones, but nobody who knows how to use them. So that's so basically they're saying that the firefighters, the police in Mexico City possess these drones. But yeah, they don't got anyone who knows how to use them. So now they have the same problem with the National Guard, a flotilla of 21 drones without pilots. I mean, I've even considered purchasing commercial drones, but as anything, there's this learning curve, right? It's going to take a number of days, I'm sure, to figure out all this stuff, and I'm just too lazy to do that. I don't even know what I would use one for myself, but yeah, I don't know if you got any comment on this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure that they're going to they'll learn quick enough. It's not, and yeah, but these are like military drones that they fly way high, you can't even see them, and so that should be interesting once the National Guard starts incorporating that type of weaponry. I don't think they use those yet, so they'll definitely learn, and that's gonna. I think the use of drones all over the world, but especially with these type of hybrid wars that you see, like with in Mexico, that's going to really add some spice to the mix. It's going to be interesting how they're used on both sides, because as we talked about a few shows ago, maybe about a month ago, that one of these criminal organizations, cartels, or they're not sure who it was, stole a whole truck full of drones, and they've been actually making like bombs just with stuff that you can get at the hardware store and things like that, that'll just drop from so high that it explodes. So these kind of makeshift war drones and things like that, I think that's going to be a different type of warfare that we're going to see in the upcoming years. Not much we can do to stop it, but I think it's so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, and the cartels are much more advanced. They're already using drones to launch bombs and attack cops and military, and they're going to have to get up to speed. And I know people who run businesses with commercial drones in Mexico, so yeah, they'll have to get up to speed on that. And another story I found that was interesting, that it's interesting because of the whole new Cold War with China, and it's talking about. I mean, for people that don't know, AMLO is building out more train lines. You got this Mayan train line, and so they are building out metros and stuff. In Guadalajara and Mexico City, and so the new trains they purchased were Chinese. So it's just interesting to see now the incursion all over the place from Chinese drones. As you mentioned, the hundreds that were stolen by the cartels. They stole these Chinese drones. We got these Chinese trains. It's from this CRRC Chinese company. And the article's talking about how 29 trains that Mexico City purchased from China. And their kind of silver lining is like, well, 35% of them were manufactured in Mexico, but it's still interesting to see how. And this is like most people. I don't even know this, so you would think, well, I don't really see much of China in Mexico, but well, they're here, so.
Yeah, that's too bad. I mean, I really think that that kind of stuff is you see it sometimes with a lot of things in all over the world, but where the government has these giant projects, and then for some reason they have to farm it out to foreign companies and things like that. And you figure you could at least just employ local people. I would figure that the right and left could both kind of agree on that, but it doesn't seem to be the case. But yeah, we haven't talked a lot about that Tren Maya. That's a big deal. They just recently declared a national security project because there's been so many people that are been protesting and against where the this Mayan train is going. So basically, it's like a tourist train that's going to go all over. I don't know if people will know the area, but it's that the top kind of right, like near Cancun. It's Tulum and Merida, Chetumal, places like that, and it's going to be kind of touristic train. So, I mean, when it's done, I think hopefully it's done well, and it'll be pretty cool to be able to ride that train. But yeah, a lot of people are upset that it's going to go through certain areas that they're saying it's an environmental risk. But recently they've designated as it's a national security project. So basically like railroading all the people that were bringing up cases and protesting against it. So it looks like it's still moving forward. So we'll see that I think that's going to be interesting. It's been a pretty big project for AMLO. So.
Yeah, then we can do a tour, a train tour of Mexico. Another issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. You know what I mean? Once it's built, I think it'd be pretty cool. That area is really beautiful, and I'm sure it'll be a fun thing to ride on.
And another issue that we're seeing in Mexico, but in all over the world now, which fits into this whole climate great reset thing, is all of a sudden there are water situations. I'm reading that in 4 states in Mexico, those would be, Sonora, Baja California, Coahuila, Chihuahua, face critical situations. They're having this drought monitor. 90% of the territory of these states is being affected. Even in Jalisco, they were issuing fines to people who were filling up those little inflatable pools for their kids on their front lawns. So, I mean, and then now I'm hearing in parts of in Croatia here, which is water rich, in some parts they're restricting water now. I guess I don't know how it's going to work. They're going to fine you or something. So, and I've heard about it as well in other parts in California and, US, Mexico, different parts of the world. Mm-hmm. So it's just weird how all of a sudden, I mean, it's just the timing is weird for me. It's like, I don't want to say everything is some conspiracy, but it's just always the timing. It's like, okay, we had COVID, and then they're starting to talk about Great Reset and climate lockdowns, and then boom, right on time is these droughts, and they're not even letting you fill your backyard pool with water. That's just, I don't know if you've been following the water situation in Mexico, or if
it's weird because I know that there's a pretty bad reporting of drought and all the way from around middle of Texas and throughout most of northern and central Mexico. Where I am, it's usually pretty dry here. It's considered to be a high desert, and so we've always had people saying that there's going to be a loss of water. I never know what how much to believe about that, or how much it's scaremongering, or what's going on with it. I mean, we've always had access here, and there's a lot of people that say that because it's not just that they say, it's definitely true that most of the water around here is used for agriculture, and that there's a lot of companies that are Coca-Cola and other companies like that basically how it works here is they buy rights to big swaths of water, or the underwater water tables that they're able to access, and so that's kind of how it works. Is especially to get a lot of the big reservoirs, you basically have to know somebody in the government, and some of the richest people in Mexico are people that own water rights. So I mean, I sure hope it doesn't come down to us fighting over water, because that could get really nasty. But the best you can do is try to get some land with enough water and a well on there, so that you can do that. Maybe some rainwater catcher.
I was talking to someone who works with water pumps in Mexico, and they were telling me regarding wells. I don't know if he was talking about like the kind you have in your backyard, or wells that are used more for commercial purposes. But I guess what the government is doing now, if you get the license or whatever, do the paperwork to dig your well, and then they know the government knows about your well, that they put in some sort of like really tiny chip or transmitter device, something where it actually measures your water use and level. And so again, it goes back to that whole smart technocracy thing. But there wasn't much other news related to AMLO apart from his meeting with Biden, although I did just find the other day that AMLO thanked his Venezuelan counterpart, Nicolas Maduro, for considering him, AMLO, a leader of Latin America, and said that Lula is a blessing for the brotherly people of Brazil. But I didn't catch any other AMLO news. Did you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's still the story with Assange. Evidently, in some note that he passed to Biden or something, he was reiterating what he'd said, that, he wants, he thinks the United States should exonerate him or just let him go. And so, I don't know that that's going to happen. I mean, for some reason they just, there's a lot of people up high in the United States government that really got it in for Assange. I mean, we thought that probably if anybody was going to, let him go would be Trump, to get rid of his charges, but he never did that. And so, I don't think that Biden's going to do it either. But maybe he'll come to Mexico.
He'll join us. We'll sit around the table drinking mezcal. And speaking of that, we're going to take our second break. Again, James's website is borderlessblog.com as well as borderlesshealthinsurance.com. We'll be right back on TNT Radio. We're on our final stretch with our weekly guest, James Guzman of borderlessblog.com. He'll also be speaking at the Expat Money Summit, the free virtual summit in November. But I guess some slightly negative news regarding the financial situation in Mexico is that Moody's has dropped down a notch their grade of Mexico from BAA1 to BAA2. Just talking about the continued poor, perspectives for investment. Although in the same article they go on to say, I know that's another article, but basically, Moody's is dropping it down a notch. Really not surprising. Does that surprise you?
No, I don't think so. I really think that we're going to see kind of the same type of economic. I don't want to call it a war. I mean, it's definitely a war with Russia and China and the West, but I think what we might see similar thing going on with the Latin American, pink wave, which would, some people say, some other people say it's not, but probably will include in some way Mexico, and probably Brazil too. We'll see with the election, but yes, we'll see. I think we'll see a lot of. I've read a lot of negative articles from the the regular press. It's just talking about how horrible the economy is going to be in Colombia and Chile and Mexico and other places, and that usually means that they probably have some things planned. I thought something that was interesting. I ran across an article that was talking about a survey that was recently done in Mexico, and that's 58% of Mexican voters are in favor of citizens being able to possess firearms in their homes. Now, legally, people can possess their firearms in their homes, so it's not, it's actually part of the Constitution. So it's not too surprising. But it seemed like a lot of people are becoming more and more in favor as they're seeing, crime and things like that around them. Many people are becoming more favorable towards gun ownership, maybe the opposite trend in the United States. And they said that, let's see, Regarding the ease of difficulty for Mexicans considered to obtain a firearm in the country, 19% responded that it was something very difficult, while 39% considered it difficult, and 42% thought it was easy. So it is pretty, it's not easy to get a firearm in Mexico. And if people don't know, you have to get permission from the local, state, and federal government. You have to get a psychiatric exam. You have to have proof of employment. And then you get an appointment at the gun store, which there's only one in the country, and that's in Mexico City. And once you get all your paperwork together, very bureaucratic. Once you get it all together, then you have to set the appointment in the next 6 months. And if your papers are older than 6 months, then that's expired. You got to do it all over again. And that's where you have to buy the ammunition too. So you can only buy the ammunition when you go get your firearm, and you can only, if you want to do it again, then you got to get all your paperwork together again. So that's a giant pain. And I thought what might be interesting for people to find out is in Mexico, they had, so like I said, they have, firearms in their constitution, like the United States does. And I mean, if you look at old pictures and old movies of Mexico, we all know they, the Banditos and Zapata and all these, everybody had guns that they, that's how they had the Mexican Revolution, just like the United States Revolution, all this. But this changed mostly in 1972. They changed Article 10, and just at once they prohibited all gun ranges, stores, the carrying of firearms in public. So all that was done at one time, and it was part of what was called the Mexican Dirty War. It was between the 60s and the 80s, and it was at the same time of the Cold War. And in the United States and here in Mexico, they had the PRI. PRI was in charge. The PRI is the political party that was in charge for like 70 years, and they're openly backed by the United States government. And so at the time, during the 60s, 70s, mostly, there was a lot of kind of on the ground, what you could call them like left-wing insurrections that were guerrillas, especially in the south of Mexico, and also student uprisings, kind of like Kent State and things that we saw in the United States at the same time were happening in Mexico. And also, if people are familiar with Operation Condor, there's also one called Intercept, which is basically part of the drug war and part of the Cold War that the Nixon administration and a lot of the United States was paying to have basically the Mexican government crack down on left-wing protesters and other things like that, and people that were getting money from marijuana, mostly marijuana, and they had almost completely closed. Nixon almost completely closed the border for imports at a time, which was really going to hurt Mexico, and so they gave in and just did what the United States wanted, but. So because of those clashes, and there was actually a thing where I can't remember the name of it, but there was one massacre in particular that happened where there were hundreds of people supposedly that were dead. And that's not the official account, but they said people say that thousands of people were arrested and hundreds of people were killed. And because of that, that they saw basically these uprisings as a big threat. That was when they changed the Constitution in 1972 to take away the handguns and arms of the populace. So it's kind of interesting. I think that so another thing is that one of AMLO's issues has been going back to this dirty war and exposing some of the stuff that the government did against the left wing at the time. And so it's I think it's kind of interesting because it was the left that was that was being clamped down on by the government and with the backing of the United States, instead of kind of, in the United States, we always think of the gun issue as the people that aren't for guns are going to be the left wing, are going to be the left wing, that sometimes it's the other way around. And all of if anybody knows anything about actual Marxism and things like that, they were never anti-gun. They always were in favor of working class people being able to have firearms and defend themselves. So in a weird way, with the government in Mexico, they might be in favor of relaxing some of the gun laws. I don't know, but I think it might be interesting. I know there was proposed, but it was kind of shot. It was proposed by, I believe it was, I think it was or one of these politicians a few weeks ago here in Mexico, and then it was shot down. But I think that would really change a lot in a positive way. And I think it's a discussion that definitely needs to happen here in Mexico, is the just personal firearm ownership and being able to defend oneself.
Yeah, I mean, for people who live in the U.S., you're truly blessed. I have my U.S. firearms license, and it was really quick. Pay 10, 20, $30 on it. Remember, you send in, you fill out a quick form, you even just mail it in, and then they just, I guess, do a background check, and if everything's fine, which I guess it should be, they mail you your firearms license in the U.S. and you can go shopping. And if I were in the U.S., I'd immediately go out and get an AR-15, a shotgun, a handgun or two. But in Mexico, it's like, as you said, when I saw the requirements, I was just like, oh, forget it. Like I quit. Like I'm not even going to start. I've just over the years, just living abroad, having embassies screw up visas, having to fly twice back and forth. I'm like, I'm done with paperwork for now, at least. But going back to yeah. But
the thing is that there obviously, because of the level of gun violence in Mexico, there are a lot of people that have guns, obviously. And, yes, sure, a lot of them are the organized cartels, but there's also a lot of just regular people and campos and stuff that have firearms. And another thing in this survey, it said that 17% admitting to having a firearm in their house, 33% said they grew up in a home with a firearm, and 52% claimed to know somebody who owned one. So, there's still a lot of people that have them, even just regular citizens. And I just think that, well, first of all, I mean, you're making just regular citizens into criminals because how hard it is in order to get it, and people aren't going to go through the bureaucracy. So they'll just say, forget it, I'll just own it illegally. And so, and then of course, all the illegal trafficking by the governments to cartels and stuff like that. So, yeah, I really think that they need to ease up on that. And So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I actually know someone who told me of their friend or someone they knew that had a gun illegally and used it and killed the thief, murdered, in self-defense, killed the thief, and with an unregistered illegal gun. And at the end of the day, there are some rules or like if he dies on your property or if he dies off of your property, you kind of, nothing happens to you. And so with this guy, nothing happened to him. And so, yeah, there's plenty of that as well. And going back to the economic thing, I thought this was interesting as well. Moody's knocked down Mexico, but this talk about nearshoring, how we're in this phase of deglobalization and many countries or regions are bringing manufacturing back closer to home, more local. They're saying the nearshoring in Mexico is not going to really improve in the near term the economy, but they do say it's interesting enough that in the medium term, nearshoring is going to make Mexico in all of Latin America, like the country that has the biggest opportunities in terms of receiving investment, and that it could, So I do see in these terms. What do you think that Mexico is probably one of the top places in Latin America in terms of, financial business opportunity and investing? No.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And the biggest ones over the last couple of decades I've always thought of to be, Brazil and Chile and Colombia. But I mean, we'll see. Like I said, I think that we're going to see where this all goes. It seems to be definitely change of tide. And so a lot of the financial analysts are now not making such rosy projections. But either way, I mean, Mexico was pretty developed as a whole. I think that its proximity to the United States is, is going to be a positive as far as the economy goes in the future. And especially once they form that North American Union, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Maybe we'll go watch a match together in Guadalajara or Monterrey. Probably not Mexico City. That'll be too crazy. Again, best place to find you on the internet?
Everybody, you can come check me out on worldlessblog.com or jamesguzman.com. Sign up for the email list. And got a Facebook group too. So if you join the email list, you'll get a link to get on that Facebook group. And look forward to talking to you next week. Thanks for having me.
Enjoy the easy, slow life in Mexico. We'll be right back after the break here on TNT Radio.